Hello again. Welcome back, everyone. Now, I love a good technology presentation. I'm a techie, and normally when I go to events, that's all I get all day long. So this is a rare excursion into something else, being at a marketing event instead of a technology event. So I'm particularly looking forward to this session. So we're going to hear about blockchain and how you can build a brand on the back of that technology. And we're going to hear from Javier, who's the CMO from Coadjute, an award-winning international brand marketeer, 25 years experience in senior roles at technology and services firms, which include Ricoh, Omgeo, Genworth, which is GE, I believe, and CPA Global. Javier has specialized in helping businesses thrive in times of change. That's this year, basically, whether they're growing rapidly, repositioning themselves, or are M&As. So, Javier, over to you.
Wonderful. So, listen, what a great introduction, Matthew. Feeling very humble. I just really would like to share some basic thoughts about how we've been growing the brand on the back of blockchain technology in a very special year, which is we are doing this in the middle of a pandemic. This is not going to be a masterclass on blockchain. And in fact, I would like to start by asking you all in the audience, how much do you know about blockchain? If you can write very quickly in 1 minute your answers on the chat, that would be good. So how much do you know about blockchain?
Yeah, you can write your message in the chat box. So we have basics only is the first response. A fair amount from our chairman. I'm going to put in my answer is Bitcoin. And then someone else wrote, not much. Another attendee wrote, pretty familiar.
Okay.
So that's what we have so far.
Okay, but that's good, because I'm going to pick up on two things. One is you mentioned Bitcoin. And actually, Bitcoin is a currency, it's also a network. It's a network that is permissionless and is anonymous. So this is something that we move away from, and I will explain to you why. And somebody else, I think it was Matthew, you said that you know pretty well blockchain. I think it's something that eventually will be mainstream in marketing. And I know that there are already some companies out there that they are using blockchain as a browser. They're using blockchain as a way to store a database. But that's not what I'm going to talk today about. I'm going to try to share with you some thoughts that even if you are not on the blockchain space, you may maybe consider if you are working with emerging technology. So I do think whatever I'm going to share today, you can airlift and put on another emerging technology. But before I do that, I would like to say hello to everyone. And as Matthew said, in a normal conference, I would have started by asking everyone, how you are feeling after a night in the bar. I don't think, this question is relevant. Would like to thanks Ericsson and Matthew for hosting this event, to have a big brand behind a marketing collaboration at a pan-European is great. And thanks, Rob, for bringing us together in a very, very special year. So thanks and hello, everyone. I'm going to try to cover three things. Blockchain, what is this? Is this a bit of mambo jumbo? And then within that mambo jumbo, how do you actually position the brand in a way that is relevant and people can engage with? And the third point, I'm not going to touch too much on it, because when I was working on the presentation, I thought actually this is an entire topic altogether. This is almost my experience of working in big international, multinational companies, and suddenly I'm working on a startup, which is rather special, and I will tell you why. So there are three sections in this presentation. The first one talks about real estate. And I actually felt that it was important to give you some context so I can explain the problem we are trying to solve with blockchain. The second part is a little bit on blockchain. And as I said, I'm just going to go quickly because, you can spend hours and hours talking about blockchain, as you know. The third one is the most relevant one, which I talk about the brand. But I think without an explanation of real estate and blockchain, it was going to be quite tricky to do. So I don't know in your countries, but in the UK, they say that the three most stressful things you do in your life is to get married, is to find a new job and move in houses. And I got another question for you. And you may know this or you may not know, but what do you think is the average time to buy and sell a property in the UK? And I'm going to zoom in the UK because this is the market where we are launching the network. Okay. So what do you think is the average time to buy and sell a property in the UK? And again, you can write your answers in the chat box.
Well, okay. We have 3 months from Matthew, 6 months from Emmanuel, 3 months from Adam Brown. Any other UK people or people who have lived in the UK? I'm curious because I have never lived in the UK. Well, I did actually 10 years ago, but I was in no place to buy anything. So,
winners, a few of you, 6 months.
6 months. Can you tell us what will it be after Brexit as well?
Oh God, yeah, I don't know. Well, with Coadjute, we are going to have this time. So that was an awesome question, Matthew. So with Coadjute, our solution, we are going to be able to make the experience less nightmarish, and we are going to actually double the speed of sales and cut this time. But there is another thing to this. It's not just how painful this is. And just to give you an idea, the average time of buying and selling properties in Switzerland, I think from memory, is 19 days. So you got countries in Switzerland with its 19 days, other countries 6 months, and it would be unfair for me to comment of your countries, which perhaps could take a little bit longer, but that's for another day. There is another thing, which is to buy a property in the UK is an absolutely nightmare. In fact, 2 in 3 of the property transactions tend to just fell over for a number of reasons. And if you are buying and selling as a consumer, you lose money. If you are an estate agent, you lose money. If you are a conveyancer, you wasted time. So the whole thing is just not ideal. I would say it's pretty fragmented, although what I think this picture is telling is actually pretty broken, just a bit more candid. And the average amount of money wasted per year is approximately 1.2 billion. On just properties that don't go to life, and therefore then you require to just get it completed. What else can I tell you about this? So we do actually have a solution for that. We're addressing the problem. There is another thing to say about this year, which is COVID has been really a very unwelcome, but has been a catalyst for a digital transformation in real estate. Real estate is a very old-fashioned industry still, okay? So COVID-19, it has been an awful thing, but it's been also a catalyst for digital transformation across industries, but also in real estate. And on top of that, the UK government realized that we needed to digitalize much more the property market. So they are already indicated on the 25th of May that we actually get our, just act together and begin to work together much more on the digital channel. So that's what we are doing. Coadjute is creating a world where buying and selling properties will take days. It will not take months. And let me tell you a little bit, that's going to be quite, again, tactical and technical, but without that, it's difficult to explain. What you can see there is every single vertical that is involved in a transaction. So imagine you got on the left-hand side, you got a buyer, and on the right-hand side, you got a seller. So you got 2 parties already, consumers. And then these guys will tend to engage with an estate agent, with a broker, with a conveyancer, which is the legal term, for someone that is actually helping you from a legal perspective on buying and selling properties, the surveyor, which is the one that do the searches on the property, and the mortgage lender, right? So you do have all of these verticals, and then you have consumers. And it's important to remember this picture later on when we talk about being a brand that is relevant to all of these guys. So if you can, I know we did talk about the concept of personas. I also hate the concept of personas. I think it's just overrated. But if you actually look at these verticals, they are all very different. If you think about an estate agent versus a conveyancer, which is a legal person, they are characteristically very different. The interest is very different. Maybe the qualifications are different. So the way you talk to them, the problems they face are somehow different. But what every single of these verticals face is that within each vertical, they are somehow digitally savvy, right? Some more than others. So an estate agent will have a CRM system and they can interact with the consumers there, but they cannot talk to the broker on that CRM system. They need to come out of that CRM, and if they need to talk to a broker or conveyancer, they need to pick up the phone. In some cases, they still use faxes. They will actually email. So it's an ongoing, and this is not, an estate agent sometimes don't have just one software. They will have maybe 2 or 3 different platforms. And so it is an ongoing in and out of platforms and then emails. So the whole thing is very broken. It's a very silo way of doing things. And then what you can see in the bottom of this graphic is how each one of these verticals, they pretty much face the same issues, which is they have to repeat data entry more than once. There are delays. Nobody knows where the transaction is. There are inaccuracies. And then, yeah, of course, you got the cybercrime. So that really is the problem. The solution, which I'm just going to just be quite just short on this, is we are simply creating a network, which is that big bar, the blue bar in the middle, the Coadjute network. And what it does, it connects digitally all of these different estate agents, brokers, conveyancers, surveyors, and lenders. So it is a very simple solution. The technology is highly disruptive. Our business model is not disruptive whatsoever, because what's happened is that each one of these personas are linked to a software provider, and we link to the software provider. Okay, so this gets a little bit convoluted. So we sell to a software provider that will sell to the estate agents. If the software provider connects to the network, they pretty much connect to everyone in the end-to-end transaction flow. And the benefit is that pretty much everyone can see real time what's happened, is secure messaging. You can share exactly what is happening. You don't have, all the data has been synchronized and so on and so forth. Hopefully this is making sense. And the reason why we can do this is because of blockchain. Just 2 more slides before I go into blockchain. So Coadjute is a solution to an existing problem, a problem that has been there for a long time, versus a prop tech that is in search for a problem. And I think this is why so many startups fail. They have a cool technology, they don't know what to do with that, they try to find a problem, and then meanwhile they just spend 2 or 3 years just wasting money, and then they go bust. In our case, the problem is there, and it's the industry telling us, just get us all connected. There is a very good article that Yahoo Finance did for us by Tom Belger, and this is exactly, just to your point, Matthew, we can actually have the time you spend on buying, selling properties. In fact, we can do it in weeks instead of months. And I would recommend to read this blockchain article by Yahoo Finance. Now, on blockchain technology, I only have 2 slides because this is not a masterclass on the technology. I just wanted you to understand why that network allowed us to do what we do. And instead of me reading this with a very thick accent, I'm going to let you read a couple of things. Well, the first is that blockchain is here to stay. Whoever is saying that this is an emerging technology, then this is just a little bit like the I don't know, just what happened a couple of years ago with the whole technology bust. This is not the case. So more and more people are spending, companies are spending on blockchain. In 2019, it was 2.7 billion, and it's predicted that by 2022, it's going to be 11.7 billion. And I actually decided to go for a very conservative stat. There are bigger stats out there that talk about how much a blockchain is now a part of the mainstream. So I'm going to let you read this analogy of a glass box by Fabrizio Santos that explains very simplistically what blockchain is. But I do take this with a pinch of salt because there are nuances with regards to blockchain, and there are different kind of blockchain technologies out there. Okay, so I'm going to let you read the first line. Second one. And so basically what this guy is saying, the analogy is about blockchain being a series of glass boxes with content that everyone can see, everyone can verify, but you cannot really change it. That's not necessarily true, but I will explain that in a minute. And everybody knows where the boxes are and what they contain. So that is true. The next slide, it is a horrendous slide. It is text. It's a forest of words. And I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to cherry pick some of the things that make the Coadjute network different and why we've been so successful so far. So the first thing to say is we are an open network. So if you qualify for it, you can connect. Anyone can connect, provided that we actually pass what we call just a rigorous permission process. It is a peer-to-peer network. Blockchain very much, in some cases, can be a broadcast tool, whereas what we offer is a kind of blockchain, which is a much advanced one, which is called distributed ledger technology. It is a peer-to-peer network, is very secure. In fact, this is the one we use is by R3, it's called the Enterprise, which is used by capital markets due to the great security, privacy, and scalability, and allows you to exchange data and do other tasks in a very secure, fast, and automatic manner. And as I said, it doesn't rely on global broadcast because they are information that or data you don't want a broker to see, but you may want an estate agent to see, and it has to be permissioned. And it's not anonymous, okay? So that's the beauty of what we are trying to do. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll explain to you now how we are treating the brand in this case. The first thing is that DLT, distributed ledger technology adoption, is going to happen via education. It's going to be an evolution. It's not a revolution. And that was key for us as a brand. We wanted to position the brand as an evangelist for DLT in real estate. But of course, we had to balance very carefully how DLT centric we are versus benefit led. But that's something we keep repeating to the market all the time. The technology is disruptive, but our business model is not. Coadjute is a verb and it means to cooperate with. So this is, again, at the center of the brand. And this is how we position our value proposition across all these different verticals. What we are telling them is we want to work with you. We don't want to steal your customers. In fact, we don't want to even perhaps be seen by your customers. But we would like to encourage you to cooperate with other parties in the property transaction via our network. A couple of things about Coadjute. It is an interesting startup. It is an amazing startup, actually, and I don't know why I call it a startup. This has been functioning for 2 years now with actually pretty solid record and traction. So in 2018, we already had a pilot with the land registry, which is a very well-established part of the government in the UK. And some of our senior leadership teams have been working with the government, so it's important, that relationship. In H1 2019, we were a consultancy called Instant Property Network, and we did a proof of concept globally with 23 global players, including Barclays, BBA, and I could go on. Actually, you will recognize all the names. Then we did a pilot in H2 2019 with software providers and conveyancers and customers, which was highly successful, and it was sponsored by NatWest, which is one of the major lenders. And in 2020, what we are doing is build. We are building a team. So we started with 3 people at the beginning of the year. We are now 20. We are building the brand. We got an incredible pool with investors. We got actually amazing investors, and I will describe them in a minute. And we are now getting ready for launch. This is a little bit what I said. On the left-hand side, the top, you can see some of the investors. So they are, the capital is pretty much institutional, which is quite rare for a startup at this level. You got guys there from Silicon Valley, you got experts on blockchain, you got experts on real estate. So this kind of investment pool is not about the money you get from them, it's about the quality of collaboration and advice you get. We actually been profiled in so many titles, whether it is the trade press or whether they are nationals. And as I said, we are still a very new company. We have partnered with the industry associations. That really works. And we have good relationships with different parts of the government. And as I said, we keep hiring and building. I'll touch on 3 things very quickly from a brand perspective. The first one is, how do you actually make a brand relevant to an audience that is very mixed? So you got the software providers. So these are technology companies that they will specialize on providing that software to either an estate agent, conveyancer, lender, the verticals. And so what they are interested in is very different to the end users. So the end users are the property businesses, as I said, the estate agents, the lenders, the surveillance. So these guys will use the software providers, but we still need to be relevant to this property business. And at the same time, we know we can have a massive pool with consumers. In fact, the reason why I show you the Yahoo Finance article is because the mainstream media has already picked up on what we do, and they are already talking to consumers about the fact that their lives when buying and selling properties will be easy. So here, on one takeaway, at least from my perspective, is to have the right balance between how you want to promote the blockchain as an evangelist for the technology in real estate, but at the same time, not disintermediating or disenfranchising your customers, which are the software providers, the users, which are the property businesses, and in the end, the buyer and seller. So that is being a very interesting challenge for us to tackle. The second is the go-to-market. So on here, I'm just going to touch on 4 things. First is a brand architecture. We wanted to keep it very simple. So we got just one master brand, which is Coadjute. We decided to go to market. The category identifier is PropTech. We decided to move from FinTech to PropTech, thinking that it was going to be less crowded. But as it happens, everyone is doing PropTech now. But again, this is the right category for us. And as you know, you don't really build a brand on the category identifier. Another thing with regards to the architecture is we decided not to go live with a product. We decided to go live with the delivery mechanism, which is the network, and to explain the benefits of just being connected to that network. And we had numerous conversations internally about whether we should package that as a product, which we have, but we are not going to start the launch with that product. But the architecture is created in a way where we start with the core value proposition, but then eventually we will add analytics and we will add other elements to that architecture. We do have a multi-channel approach. So we sell directly to the software providers, and this is a very consolidated space. So if we sign 10, 15 contracts with them, we pretty much got 90% of the entire market share of the property landscape in the UK. We also partner with them to promote the services to property businesses. And next year, I would like to do thought leadership and much more social media to attract sellers. Then, as I explained before, the positioning for a software provider and the value prop is very different to a property business. And within the property business, again, it's very different the way you talk to an estate agent than the way you talk to a lender, a bank. So you need to wear multiple hats, and yeah. And then, of course, the way you talk to a consumer is radically different. And in fact, one of the conversations we are having is whether we should have a sub-brand that could be a bit much more appealing to the consumer base, and that could be hosted in a microsite. And then another important thing for the go-to-market is to have the right customer mix. When you have a network, the network only works if there is a network effect. So the more people in it transacting, the more everybody benefits from that connectivity. So to start with the right people, with the guys that have got the most transactions, that interact the best, is key for us. And this is why we are not launching anything, although I keep saying we are launching. We are rolling things out on a pilot. We are now on a pilot. Then we got which is, we call it alpha. We got a beta, which is from Jan to March. And then on March, we will open the keys to everyone, and hopefully we will reach the network effect around April, May. Just gonna go a little bit faster. And then the interesting thing is, how do you actually treat the brand? Because we are a middleware, right? We are invisible to everyone. So what happened is, imagine you call your Salesforce CRM system as a marketeer, or Siebel, I don't know, whatever you use. And one day you realize you got additional functionality. So that is Coadjute. Coadjute appears in what you are already using. And in some cases, the software providers are very protective of their brand. They don't want to modify the user experience by silently introduce a brand. Others, they are more open to have their existing UIs with a tiny little logo there, which says connected by Coadjute, in the same way that Intel did it with computers. But this is going to be on a case-by-case basis. So brand awareness is something that we are still thinking about how we're going to do, because these user interfaces are very different based on the software providers. How much time left do I have, Rob, more or less?
You've
13 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes, but including Q&A. So
yeah.
Okay, so I'll go quick. Yeah. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to just to catch the point. I mentioned that we have to position the brand very differently to all of these different providers. There is no time to go through this, but you can imagine that a software provider will be much more interested in how we partner for growth and innovation, whereas consumers, they are much more interested on, how do I buy a home, and how do I ensure that this is an amazing life adventure instead of the nightmare that they spend today. Couple of things, and I would like to spend a bit more time, simply because I relate to some of the things that Clive said. The messaging was key, the why, the what, and the how per vertical. I've learned this in the hard way, is spend as much time with your software developers, because we are innovating so fast, and by the time we produce a piece of marketing, our research and development team has already moved to a step ahead. So stay close to research and development. Think is true partnerships. For us to be able to cooperate with the industry, they need to trust us, because they are giving us pretty much everything. They are not giving us their data. This is a decentralized system, but they have to trust that what we do is not going to meddle with their users. And then finally, look, maybe this is controversial, but I do think all school marketing works. And this comes from someone that I've just been presenting in conferences about how I use artificial intelligence for advertising and other, just really fancy stuff. But I tell you, traditional PR, social media, and events, all that is school, really, really has worked well for us. We have paid no money in advertising. We have used LinkedIn, and LinkedIn has been amazing. We had 7,000 views, 8,000 views. The engagement sometimes is 100, 200 reshares. So it does really work. I decided on inclusivity to go against all the advice given, which is, you need to blog in Reddit and Telegram. How I decided not to do it. Because if you want to ensure that blockchain is part of the mainstream, you have to be working with mainstream platforms, not to create a tribe for this. And finally, look, we don't have yet light customers. We are now developing. So for us to build credibility is through awards, associations, and trials instead of case studies, okay? So again, very traditional marketing, but it works. No time for values. These are some examples. So we've been featured in tremendous white papers. And as I said, we have paid for nothing. So JP Morgan talking about digital currency and with the fact that it's moving mainstreams, and they feature us very heavily. Again, there's a white paper by the Surveillance Association, Oxford University last year, but also this year when we talk about the future of real estate, they heavily feature Coadjute. As I said, we don't pay for any of it. This is independent studies. Press clippings. Look, we are a B2B business that has to be appealing to the consumer. So we are a B2P business. And we've been featured in the Times. We've been featured in Forbes and a few other publications that you may recognize if you have lived in the UK. But I think I chose these titles because I think they are pretty well known. We have been using podcasts, again, for free. And other industry events. So in fact, in September, we were invited to participate at London Tech Week. And yeah, it was very successful. So in a nutshell, Coadjute is here to stay. Key focus area for us is brand relevance, the go-to-market, and that awareness combined with UX. Our approach is educate, but build trust. What I share with you guys is not miracle marketing, is really going back to basics. And we are now currently refreshing everything we do because we are getting ready for launch. So if you go and see our website, there is very little, everything is out of date. We are changing everything. And hopefully by March next year, you will be able to see. So thank you and happy holidays. Happy to take a few questions if there's time.
Thank you, Javier. Yes, there is a few minutes. You sparked an interesting little discussion about house buying around Europe, but maybe we won't just go into that topic in the Q&A now. So if anyone has a question, please throw it forward. Or, no, I won't do this. It's possible that we get very technical about blockchain. I just won't do it, sorry. I'm going to save all the technical discussions for after the break, when
That's good.
My industry is actually on stage. So yeah, Emmanuel, I'm looking forward to that as well. No questions. Wow, I'm really surprised because there's so much deep content in this session. It takes a while.
Are you going to be looking at some brand stories with someone's raising their hand?
Raise of hand, that means someone can go live. I let you take over, Robert, and fix that. This is going to be fun. The first one. Thank you. There's a special prize for Adam.
Hey, Adam. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Welcome.
Good, thank you. Yeah, so thank you very much, Javier. It's a really interesting presentation. And, you know, it is a total nightmare buying a house in the UK. I mean, it's just a disaster. More stressful than you can ever imagine. But my question is about how you deal with multiple verticals and trying to get them all on board. I mean, I've got a client who is dealing with multiple different verticals also, and every other vertical is pointing at the other one, saying, "Well, when are you going to get them on board, and then I'll join." So, how do you deal with that issue? Because it's got to be a challenge, yeah.
Yes. So I heard two questions, Adam, and thank you for asking. One is around how relevant we are, and second is how do we make them work together. So on the relevance, again, is clear messaging, understanding exactly the pain points and addressing them, but also showing them a little bit what's happened around them. Okay, and some of these verticals don't like each other, and I'm not gonna just specifically talk about. But if you start bringing them together in a conversation through pilots, they beginning to see the benefit of the solution and they forget the differences. There is another interesting thing that is happening. There are certain verticals, and I just want to move away from naming them because one of the things that we do as a brand is being very respectful to the industry, but there are certain verticals that they are extremely conservative. So if we want one of these big players in a vertical to move and digitally transform, they tend to look at their peers, and if they don't move, they don't want to move, so they move in blocks. So we are working closely with two big brands, and we know that once these big brands are in the network, everybody will follow. There are others which will have long sales process, and there are others and they are already with us. So it is tremendous amount of work, and it is about tailoring conversations, and it's high touch sales, and also technology onboarding is key.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Adam. And you can see, everybody, that was relatively painless for Adam. He didn't even show his video, which is, of course, what you can do too. So any others, maybe? Don't see any. No questions in the chat.
Any thoughts on the current price of Bitcoin being at an all-time high, $20,000? Should we all put 1% of our savings into it, maybe as a hedge against inflation, or if the dollar becomes worthless in 10 years and everything's on Bitcoin? Or any opinions on that? No?
I haven't invested on any of it. I know some of you have. I would rather invest on companies that work on networks than they are just a little bit more transparent. That's what I would say.
This is a great answer. Yes, I really like that. Nice one.
The network is powerful, of course. The idea of the blockchain is a powerful concept. Have you thought also for the real estate industry, for future branding ideas, and maybe doing some kind of narrative where you have a case study of a real estate buyer in the UK buying their property, maybe some first-time buyer, and they go through the process, and you can demonstrate how much quicker it was because they used your platform, how the experience for them was great?
That's an awesome question, and the fact is we've done it. We did it. There was a trial with NatWest. What's happened is their trial, so we are not allowed to publish any of that data. But we're actually doing a video now with a Russian animation agency that is going to really explain how to do it, and we're going to be able to just put times and explain it better. But yeah, good idea.
Nice. Well, I'd like to say thank you again, Javier. Really informative presentation. I also appreciate the interactivity you brought in with the questions at the start. Thanks for that. And I learned a new word, because I get hit with the word collaborate too often. And it is a word to talk about cooperating with other people, but it's got some negative underlying connotation that I can't get rid of. So I really like this. Coadjute, and I'm going to use it. Coadjute. I'm going to have to learn how to pronounce it and say it properly. I'm surprised I hadn't heard it before, because I'm usually quite full of words. Thank you so much, and good luck with the growth of the company as well.
Thank you, Matthew, Robert, and everyone. Thank you.
All right, we're having a break. This is one of those breaks where you get the chance to network. We've got these fantastic tools where you can sit around the tables. Those of you who weren't with us yesterday, go sit at a table, get in a chat. Also get the chance to grab some coffee. I know I will.
Yeah, and this is the last break that's actually quite long. So use this break as a chance to meet each other, because
this is the networking.
This is your chance to network with your fellow colleagues. So use it, grab a chair, have a nice coffee break, and we shall return it's at noon at 12 o'clock Central European time, 45 minutes.
See you in a bit.
See you.